As 1999 came to a close, boy bands and nu metal acts were at the top of the charts. Trends in mainstream culture changed the following century as pop punk, screamo, and other Warped Tour acts smashed through the charts. Which band do you most associate with the time period between 2000 and 2009? Is it the power pop of the All-American Rejects? The screamo of the Used? The mainstream rock of 30 Seconds to Mars? Or is it someone else? Whatever your answer may be, it's probably not one of these 15 underrated scene gems. But before we think back on this vital decade of music, make sure to subscribe to APTV and turn on all notifications so you never miss a video. And check out the link in the description to the Spotify playlist featuring all of the artists on this list. 15 scene bands from the 2000s that you probably forgot about. Number 15, After Midnight Project. If Let's Build Something to Break, After Midnight Project's debut and only full-length, had been released during the screamo post-hardcore boom earlier this century, the band certainly would have been around for at least one more album. The record was produced by revered scene icon John Feldmann, and it has all of the elements of a classic Feldmann LP. Anthemic choruses, loud guitars, passionate screams, and perfect melodies. But don't feel too bad for the band's vocalist Jason Evigan, as he currently writes songs with huge artists such as Maroon 5, Dua Lipa, and Selena Gomez. Number 14, The Apex Theory. It takes a lot of balls to even try to play a measure in 11/8, let alone compose a song in said unorthodox time signature. From the get-go, Los Angeles' own The Apex Theory proved that they were an extremely ambitious and musically skilled four-piece, and the band attempted to carve a unique lane for mainstream odd-metered and frenetic rock and roll. Sadly, the band never truly exploded to the skies, even with the name change to Mount Helium towards the end of their career. Number 13, Autopilot Off. Imagine this tour. Punk powerhouses the Ataris, pop rock darling Sugar Cult, Shredders Rufio, and Autopilot Off, the greatest pop punk band you've never heard of. It actually happened in 2002. Orange County, New York's Autopilot Off, formerly known as Cooter, signed with Island Records at the beginning of the century and released one perfect EP and one incredible LP on the label. We never thought we'd come back around. Number 12, Bedlight for Blue Eyes. New Jersey's Bedlight for Blue Eyes are probably best known for their standout cover of Third Eye Blind's Jumper, but their amazing and musically diverse originals, which combine a more than skilled band playing crunching post-hardcore with the wide range of incredible 80s hair metal vocals, deserve much more notoriety too. It's such a shame that we only have one EP and two LPs to show for it, as this group had so much potential to become a career act. Number 11, Blindside. Perhaps the largest band on this list, Sweden's Blindside were primed for global domination in the early 2000s. They had the songs, they had the look, and their releases were timed when their genre was at its commercial peak. But two major label releases in, the band were still relatively unknown stateside, playing smaller capacity venues in the States than the figureheads and fans anticipated. Sad. There must have been some sort of disconnect lost in translation, because Blindside were peerless live. Number 10, Emanuel. Vagrant Records certainly ruled the beginning of this century with diverse powerhouse acts such as Dashboard Confessional, Alkaline Trio, and the Get Up Kids. Somehow, Louisville, Kentucky's aggressive and frenetic Emanuel didn't achieve the same degree of fanfare, and many musicians were shocked, as this band were certainly a band's band. Timing should be blamed for such, as a plethora of clones persisted and thrived several years later and into the next decade. Make tonight special and listen to their discography this evening. Number 9, Forgive Durden. Monster label fueled by ramen rose to prominence just a few years later in the mid-2000s with heavy hitters such as Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, and Paramore. However, few acts on the label fell under the radar like Seattle's Forgive Durden, despite 2006's Wonderland being the best album that the next band we talk about never recorded and 2008's Razia Shadow, a musical, truly actualizing a scene rock opera perfectly, the band never achieved superstar status like so many other acts on the roster. Number 8, Gatsby's American Dream. Gatsby's American Dream were outcasts in a sea of them. Their literary lyrics were a tad too esoteric for the mainstream to digest. Who the hell writes a song about William Golding's Lord of the Flies? And their actual sound combined just about every single genre in the book. Still, the band's 4 albums found them an ardent cult following who freaked the fuck out when the band's Facebook page changed their cover photo in January. Hopefully, they'll do more than that ASAP. Number 7, Gratitude. Timing yet again could be blamed for destroying a fantastic band. If Gratitude's self-titled debut and only album had been released around the time of Jimmy Eat World's Bleed American in 2001, the band certainly would have been around for many more records. Then again, a similar statement could probably be said about singer and guitarist Jonah Matranga's older band Far, and specifically the revered record Water and Solutions, which came out in 1998. That gem was ahead of its time. Number 6, Homegrown. Orange County, California's Homegrown were primed for global domination by the time they signed to Drive-Thru Records in the early 2000s. The pop-punk group already had a minor hit in Surfer Girl and were on the cusp of releasing their most accessible and quality full-length Kings of Pop in 2002. But things don't always go as planned, and the band released one more EP and broke up a couple of years later. Number 5, Letter Kills. Imagine this tour, the Nintendo Fusion Tour in 2004, featuring the incredible story of the year, My Chemical Romance just before they got huge, and the greatest screamo band who you've never heard of, Letter Kills. LK seemed to have it all, a vocalist who could scream and sing with the best of them, a lead guitarist who was light years better than his peers on the 6th string, and a perfect 12-track album called The Bridge. Sadly, it didn't work out as the band broke up shortly after they were recording their follow-up album. Number 4, Lola Ray. Before the Madden brothers started MDDN, they had DC Flag Records, which was a subsidiary of conglomerate Epic Records. Brooklyn's Lola Ray were a bright star on the DC Flag, and the band's debut album, I Don't Know You, features 10 flawless tracks that are sadly nowhere to be found on any digital service providers. The band released one more record off the label 2 years later, and ceased being a full-time act soon after that. Number 3, Monty RI. Rhode Island's Monty RI made waves for approximately 13 years as a unique symphonic rock band before calling it quits in 2011. Just after their second LP and first major label release, Break Through the Silence. Aside from tours with large acts such as Sum 41, Hawthorne Heights, and Taking Back Sunday, the band weren't much of a household name. Happily, the band released their first single in 8 years this past December and played a sold-out show in January. Number 2, My American Heart. Your favorite bands absolutely love My American Heart. It's true. Ryan Scott Graham of State Champs is such a big fan that he named his side project after one of the band's songs, Speak Low If You Speak Love. But My American Heart deserve your attention for so much more than that. The San Diego Quintet absolutely excelled at writing emo pop tracks, and it's unfair that much of the world was too tired and uninspired to notice. Number 1, Vendetta Red. Jealousy can be an extremely bitter thing. Many industry pundits theorize that it's what prematurely ended the career of Seattle's Vendetta Red. After hearing about the lofty advance that Epic Records gave to the band upon signing them, many other acts got upset, blacklisted the 5-piece, and refused to share the stage with them. It was a great castration, as Shatterday should have and could have been as big as The Taste of Ink.